All right, everyone. In my earlier lecture, I had discussed the classification of contract with you. We had covered a few of the types of contracts. Let us just revise them very quickly. We started with void contract. Now, void means it is not enforceable by law. Void may be either void ab initio or just void. Void ab initio means it is void right from the beginning, and just void means that the contract was valid when entered, but later on, due to certain circumstances, it cannot be enforced, it becomes void. Then we discussed voidable contract. Now, what is the meaning of voidable? Voidable means that the aggrieved party has two options: either keep quiet, treat the contract as valid, or cancel the contract. If the contract is cancelled or rescinded, you need to restore the benefit, section 64. The cancellation or rescission must be within a reasonable time. Contract remains valid till it is rescinded. Then we discussed illegal agreement. Illegal means it is forbidden by law. The word forbid indicates that it is not at all enforceable by law, it is void ab initio. One very important table that we had written yesterday: if the main agreement is void, collateral need not be void. But if the main agreement is illegal, the collateral is also tainted with illegality, it becomes void. Valid contract, it has all the essential elements of a valid contract. Okay, all the essential elements are present. Unenforceable contract, so the contract is valid when it was entered, but there are certain technical defects. Okay, the contract is actually valid, but it cannot be enforced because there are some technical defects. Once you remove the technical defects, contract becomes enforceable. The gift deed must be in writing and registered. I made it oral. Okay, what about an immovable property? Immovable property, the agreement must be in writing and it must be registered. I made an oral agreement. So for the time being, it is unenforceable. Once I get it in writing, it becomes enforceable. Let us now continue our discussion. Express contract. Express means the contract is expressed in words. Okay, it is expressed in words, oral or written. Very important to note that both offer as well as acceptance. Okay, both offer and acceptance must be expressed. All right. So, what is an express contract? Express means you're expressing it in words, either oral or written. Both offer and acceptance are made in words, either spoken or written. So, both. Okay, that is the keyword. Both offer as well as acceptance, they are made in words, either spoken or written. X offers to sell his car to Y. Always look at the arrows which are flowing. Okay. Now, X offered to sell his car to Y. He is giving an oral offer. Y also agrees to buy the car. Everything is happening verbally. It's an express contract. X writes a letter, sends it to Y. It's in writing. Do you want to buy my laptop? Y also replies via letter. It's an express contract. So when both offer and acceptance are made in words, either you do it in oral or writing. I may give you an oral offer, you give me a written acceptance, but words are used. It's an express contract. So in case of express, you're expressing through words, either spoken or written. Both offer and acceptance are made in words. Implied contract. Now I want to write a small table for that. I would like you to write along with me, or maybe you can just listen to the explanation first. Very important for you to learn the section number of implied contract. So please highlight this. Mark it as important for exam. Implied contract. Now, what is an implied contract? Section 9. Okay. Now, what is an implied contract. Implied means words are not used. It is understood from our conduct, action, facts, and circumstances of the case. Now, implied may be either implied by fact or implied by law. Okay, so implied may be either implied by fact or implied by law. Now, what is implied by fact? It means that words are not used. Okay, words are not used. It is understood, the contract is understood from the facts and circumstances of the case, action, or conduct of the parties. So you can write over here contract is inferred. Inferred is a better word. Contract is inferred from action or conduct of the parties, or maybe facts and circumstances of the case. Okay, so implied may be implied by fact or implied by law. Implied by fact means the contract is inferred, it is understood from the conduct or action of the parties, or maybe the facts and circumstances of the case. Let's take examples. Okay, let's write examples. Bus running on a fixed route. Now, a bus is running on a fixed route. This is implied offer. I am going to the station. In case you wish to go there, come hop in. So a bus is running on a fixed route. It's an implied offer that I am going to the station. If you want, you can jump in. We board the bus. That is implied acceptance. Words are not used. Our actions show that we are using your services. We will pay for it. So Mr. A and B, they board the bus. Words are not used. This is implied acceptance. What becomes is an implied contract. Words are not used. It is understood from the facts, the circumstances, action, conduct of the parties. Another example, bidding at an auction. Have you ever seen the IPL auction? Yes, what happens in case of an auction? So teams are sitting. If you want to bid for the player, you will just raise your card. It doesn't happen like movies where people are screaming. You simply raise your card. It shows that you want to bid. The auctioneer strikes the hammer. His action shows acceptance. Using the word sold is also not customary. It is not a legal requirement. Just striking the hammer shows acceptance. So bidding at an auction, there are many people who are attending the auction. So he is bidding. That bid is nothing but an implied offer. You just raise the card. You need not even say what you are bidding. It is all understood. You just raise the card. It means you want to bid. The auctioneer strikes the hammer. Okay, he strikes the hammer. Striking of hammer is implied acceptance. What becomes is an implied contract. So bid is an offer. Words are not used. Ma'am, without using the words, how can we understand? See, everything is fixed. That if you are bidding, the bid will raise by X amount. It is all fixed. Okay, so you are bidding from the reserve price, the minimum price. You start bidding, again you raise your, and we know that it is going, the bid is going to increase by 50,000, 1 lakh, that all that is fixed. So you just raise your card, show that you're interested in bidding, and striking of hammer shows acceptance. Words are not used. It is understood from the action or conduct of the parties. Okay. So in case of implied contract, words are not used. What is implied by law? Implied by law means parties never intended to contract. But law says that the circumstances are such, that your actions are such, that this is a contract. So, in case of implied by law, parties never intended to contract. There is no offer, there is no acceptance. They never intended to contract. The contract is imposed by law. Okay, contract is imposed by law. So you may not find an offer, you may not find acceptance, but still there is a contract. Now these contracts are also known as quasi contract. Okay, they are also known as quasi contract. Quasi means it's just like a contract. So what is the meaning of quasi? Quasi means it is just like a contract. Okay, quasi contract means it is just like a contract. Now, implied by law, it means parties never intended to contract, but law says that the circumstances are such that you have entered into a contract. A, by mistake, left goods at the house of B instead of C. B used the goods. See, if you have used the goods, you will have to pay for the goods. They never intended to contract. A, by mistake, left goods at the house of B. There was no offer, there is no acceptance. But law says because B has used the goods, he will have to pay for the goods. This is a contract which is imposed by law. Let's take another example. X found a diamond ring at the birthday party of Y. Okay, he is the finder. He asked everyone who owns this ring, please bring some proof and the ring is yours. Nobody owned it. He kept the ring with himself. Has he become the owner? No. He acts just like a caretaker. It is his duty to find the true owner. He will try to find the true owner and return the ring to him. Okay. So this is an implied contract. It is imposed by law that you need to find the true owner. You need to return the ring to him. If you have incurred certain expenses in finding the true owner, once the owner is found, you can claim all that. You can reimburse all those expenses from him. If he doesn't pay, you can retain the goods. You can retain the ring. So as a finder, he has many rights. Okay, he has many rights imposed by law. Parties never intended to contract, but because he found the ring, he is now expected to take care of the ring and find the true owner. If he has incurred expenses in finding the true owner, he can claim it from the owner. He has certain rights against it. Yes, he has rights as well as duties. It is his duty to find the true owner. It is his duty to return the goods to the true owner. It is his duty not to use the goods for his personal use. He has the right to claim all the expenses. If a reward was declared, he has the right to claim the reward. So, law imposes certain rights and duties. This is nothing but a contract. So finder also enters into a contract with the true owner without having any intention to enter into contract in the first place. The situation is such that it is imposed by law. There is one more classification, but first I will give you time to copy all this in your notebook. Done? Okay. All right. There is one more classification. It is a type of implied by fact. Okay. Implied by fact. We also discuss tacit contract. Now, what is the meaning of tacit? Tacit means it is inferred from silence. Words are not used. The contract is inferred, it is understood from silence of the parties. Now, this is not a separate classification. You will not find tacit contract in the Contract Bare Act. Okay, you will not find the mention of the word tacit contract. It is something which is, accepted by local trade customs, or you can say it is just one of the types of implied by fact. Now, what is the meaning of tacit? Okay, tacit means it is inferred from the silence, words are not used. If in the exam you find these two examples, one is withdrawing cash from ATM and other is sale by fall of hammer. Okay, now I discussed that example with you over here. Why? Because there is no mention of tacit contract in the act. Okay, act considers this as an implied contract, and bidding at an auction is a type of tacit contract. Okay, so sometimes they use the word tacit, sometimes they use the word implied. Now, if in the question you find ATM or sale by fall of hammer, then you can use the word tacit. Okay, now, do you go and talk to the ATM machine while withdrawing cash? That never happens, no? You just insert the card, punch the pin, money is given. Now you are inserting the card and punching the pin, that is an offer. Money comes in the machine, that is implied acceptance. So words are not used. Okay, words are not used. The contract is imposed from the action or conduct of the parties. Sale by fall of hammer. In this case, bid is nothing but an offer. Striking of hammer is acceptance. It is only then that a contract comes into existence. Because words are not used, it is understood from the silence, from the action of the parties. It's a tacit contract. Ma'am, we find no difference between implied by fact and tacit contract. Yes, because tacit is not a separate classification, it is a type of contract implied by fact. So you won't find a mention of this. You won't find a mention of this in the Contract Act. But for exam purpose, if you have the examples of ATM or sale by fall of hammer, then yes, you can use the word tacit in your answer. You can classify it as tacit contract. Please write this in your notebook. Done. Okay. Let us read everything now. Implied means it is a contract made otherwise. Okay, it's a contract made otherwise than by words spoken or written. In fact, it is inferred, it is understood. Okay, it is inferred, it is understood from the conduct of the parties, the circumstances of the case. Conduct means action. Action of the parties. These contracts are implied by fact. Parties never intended to contract, but law says that there is a contract between you two. So, boarding a bus, we discussed this. Let us discuss the example of coolie. Okay, this is a new example. Let us discuss this. So let's say, for example, that Mr. X had gone out of station. He returned by train. He removed all his bags from the train and he was standing on the platform with his luggage. A coolie approached him. He picked up his bags and started walking towards the exit. X did not object. He just followed the coolie. The coolie went out of the station and he kept the bags. Okay, he kept all the bags of Mr. X. X. Can X say, "Oh, thanks, buddy. Meet me next time also. I don't know what I would have done without you." Can he just say thank you and leave? Can he say, "Payment? What payment? I didn't ask you to help me. I didn't ask for your services. You came on your own. You picked up my bags. So why should I pay?" Can he argue? No. You allowed the coolie to pick your bags and move out of the station. Your action shows acceptance. When the coolie picked up the bags, that is implied offer. That I am offering you my services. I expect to be paid for it. You allow him to do so. That is implied acceptance. And what forms is an implied contract. Okay, what forms is an implied contract. If you have used his services, you will have to pay for it. So, this is an implied contract. Very important, can be asked as a case based question. It can be asked as a case based question. Sometimes the contract may be implied by law even though the parties never intended to contract. A by mistake delivered goods at the house of B. If B has used the goods, he will have to pay for it. It is an implied contract even though the parties never intended to contract. So, can I say that implied by law is very similar, or it is also known as, that will be better, also known as quasi contract? Quasi means they are just like a contract. Yes, it is just like a contract. Tacit. This is not a separate classification. It's not a separate form of contract. It falls within the scope of implied by fact. Tacit means silent. That is saying nothing. So, contract is tacit when it is inferred from the conduct of the parties without any words spoken or written. So, it is inferred from the conduct, from the action of the parties. Cash withdrawn from ATM, sale by fall of hammer. If these two questions are asked in the exam, ATM or fall by hammer, you can use the word tacit. Next, let us discuss the meaning of executed contract. The word says that everything is over. Executed contract, it means nothing remains to be done. Parties have fulfilled their promises. When a contract has been completely performed, both the parties, the key word is both the parties. Both the parties have fulfilled their obligation, then it is termed as an executed contract. Nothing remains to be done. X offers to sell notebooks to Y. So he delivered the notebooks. Y made the payment. Nothing remains to be done. It's an executed contract. A type of executed contract is a unilateral contract. Now, uni means one. This is a one-sided contract in which before formation one party has already fulfilled his promise. Only the other party now remains to perform his promise. Let us understand this with the help of examples. The contest organizers promised to pay $1,000 to the winner of a pasta eating contest. Okay? So they had organized a pasta eating contest. They said whoever eats this huge bowl of pasta in 30 minutes, they will be getting a reward. So the organizers, they have announced to pay $1,000 to the winner. Now, contract will be entered only when someone actually eats the pasta. Now, X was the winner. Okay, he finished the bowls in 30 minutes. Now, the contract is made only when X finishes eating. Yes. See, before a winner is announced, we don't know with whom we have to enter into contract, to whom we need to pay the price. Only when someone wins, that is the time when the contract is entered. Now, in this contract, X has already done his part of eating the pasta. Only the contest organizers need to now perform their part of the promise. They now need to pay $1,000. Since only one party needs to perform his promise, this is known as a unilateral contract. Another example. Another example. A, his dog is missing. Okay, his dog is missing. So he announced a reward of 10,000 rupees to whoever found his missing dog. X found the dog, brought him back. Now, a contract is entered with X. In this contract, X has already performed his obligation of finding the dog. Only A's obligation of paying the money remains. One party, X, has already performed his obligation before formation of contract. Since only one party has to now perform his obligation, this is a unilateral contract. Okay, it's a unilateral contract. Unilateral is a one-sided contract in which after formation only one party has to perform his obligation. Other party has already performed his obligation either at the time or before the formation of contract. This is not a separate kind of contract. It is a type of executed contract. Executory, also known as bilateral contract. Now, executory or bilateral contract is a contract in which both the parties have to still perform their obligation. When both the parties, this is the key word, when both the parties have to still perform their obligation, it is an executory contract, also known as bilateral. Bi means both. Both the parties have to still perform their obligation. A promises to coach Y, a CA student, and Y promises to pay 5,000 rupees per month. Now, X has to coach Y. His obligation is pending. Y needs to pay money. Both have to still perform their obligation. You can call it either bilateral or executory. It's the same. X sold a car to B, but he said, I will give the ownership only when you pay the money. And Y says, I will pay the money on 10th of next month. Now, in this case, A has not yet transferred the ownership. He will transfer the ownership when the payment is made. And B will make the payment on 10th of next month. So, A has to still transfer ownership. B has to still pay the money. Both have to still perform their obligation. It is either executory or bilateral. Okay, so A will transfer ownership, B will pay money, both will perform in the future. It's an executory contract. Lastly, we have e-contracts. These are also known as electronic contracts. You must have downloaded many softwares, no, for your laptop, mobile. There is always a checkbox with I agree written over there. You blindly tick that. What is it? It's a electronic e-contract that I accept all the terms and conditions. You go to any banking app, you again check I agree to all the terms and conditions. That is nothing but a contract. Now, electronic contracts, e-contracts, they are a very new type of contracts. You will not find this classification in the Bare Act. When a contract is entered by both the parties using electronic means like email, then they are known as e-commerce contracts. Now, I'll give you my personal example. In my website, okay, I enter the quantity of the books that I have. When it reaches, let's say, 5 books are left, immediately I get a message that only 5 books are left in the stock. I send an email to the printer that please print more books. The printer prints the books, brings it home, gives me an invoice. Did you notice that everything happened without the use of paper or with minimum use of paper, just the invoice that I got? You purchase my lectures on the website. So you place the order on the website, you get a confirmation email, you get all the links in that email, you get the activation key, you get an email with the tracking code of books, you get the books delivered to your home. No paper was used. You placed the order on the website, you got a confirmation email, you got all the links, activation key via email. No use or minimum use of paper is involved. Then these contracts are known as electronic contracts or electronic data interchange, EDI, that is electronic data interchange. These parties, they create networks which are linked to other networks. Now it may happen that when the quantity reaches a minimum level, automatically an email will be sent to the production department, please make the required quantity. They will make the required quantity, issue the invoice. So you are doing business using electronic means. They use very little paper. Okay, it is a process which allows one company to send information to the other electronically rather than with paper. These are also known as EDI contract, cyber contract, mouse click contract. So the example which I discussed with you is mentioned here. The transactions which enable transfer of data, okay, it enables transfer of data from one computer to another in a way that the transaction happens with virtually no paperwork. Okay, so you receive the order, you prepare, you export the goods. There is very little paper involved. These contracts are known as EDI contracts, that is electronic data interchange, or E contracts. You just need to learn this. May or may not be asked in the exam. It is up as of now, it has never been asked. Just go through it. And with this, we come to an end of the classification. We will first discuss offer and acceptance, and then we will solve all the questions from my question bank. So I'll see you in my next session.